Welcome to another edition of Afternoon Idle. This Thursday, what is it, January 7th? On Thursdays, what we normally do is a slightly different version of what we're exploring on weekdays. So I'll let you know about that in a second. Who am I? I'm Andrew. I am a certified mindfulness meditation coach in the Unified Mindfulness System. You can find out more about at unifiedmindfulness.com. I am many things, but I am not a licensed therapist or mental health professional. Thank you, though, for a few people encouraging me to consider that as a U-turn in my career path. Very flattering. So what this normally is a little break in our day to meditate together. Hey there, Ralph. And in essence, kind of explore this idea of idling, or the the opposite of what we're often encouraged to when it comes to all the messaging around grinding and hustling and all these other sort of narratives. So what we normally do is a contrast sit. We'll take something. Usually it's pulled from the Ultra library of attention training that's in Unified Mindfulness. So there'll be a something thing that we can do, and we compare that with nothing or do nothing, or can think of it as the technique of no technique. And the idea is that somewhere in between is where your nervous system might want to be. And so being able to tune into that is beneficial. I usually put the do nothing at the end because, much like I enjoy looking forward to coasting back home on a bike ride, that we generate enough effort at the beginning of a sit with whatever technique we're doing, our doing something part, that the ease of moving into nothing at the end is sort of like coasting sort of into the finish. But today on Thursday, what we do is to play around with the experimentation, we switch everything up. And so I'll give you some cues around my sort of normal pre-flight checklist for a sit. We'll drop into do nothing, and then we'll shift into do something at the end. So you get about 6.5, 7 minutes kind of in, or well, no, not 7, about 6.5, 6 to 6.5 minutes sort of in each. For the something part, which will be at the end today, in essence, it's your choice, but I'm going to guide you around what selfishly I feel I need, and that will be in lingo, feel rest. So the way that we meet experience in Unified Mindfulness is with these 3 abstract categories for what's going on in our sensory experience: see, hear, and feel. With feel, the 3rd category, that could be emotional body sensations, and it can also be physical body sensations. So the feeling of the air on your skin, the pressure of the body sitting, your hands arranged in your lap, your feet on the floor. If you're into the breath meditation, which I've done plenty of, that's also kind of a feel aspect. So those are all sensory experience examples of feel. And for that, we would note those, optionally label them with feel. So what do we do in noting? We notice where our attention is within this range that we've offered ourselves, soak our attention in, and then optionally label feel. You can always play around with leaving the label out, but it's often very supportive at the very beginning. And then the other component we'll add to that something at the end is rest. So what's that? Unified Mindfulness has precise sort of terminology around things, which is beneficial. But if you want sort of the shorthand, it's rest is any reduction in activation. So if you're feeling kind of this sense of putting something down, like you've been holding something and you put it down and you feel that there's a sense of relaxation in muscles, that would be an example of rest. The movement around the breath, not necessarily the breath itself, but the rib cage moving, the body sort of shifting as you breathe, can trigger restful sensations kind of around the breath that are pleasant. And then in other areas, you may find rest. And so if you don't find it at the beginning, not a big deal. You just keep sort of your attention on feel on the body. So there's chat is open. You're always welcome to ask questions. I will do my best to offer responses, hopefully responses that are helpful. And then if you have sort of statements or reports, I'm always very interested in hearing that. I like to encourage a sort of predict and prepare mindset to when we're sitting. So things may come up, and so you may have had a beautiful plan and that plan didn't work out. And so I always love to hear kind of when that happens and then how folks are adopting the practice. So they're becoming, in Jeff Warren's words, their own mind body DJ, right? You're matching what you need based on how your nervous system is today. So reports like that are always great. Actually, any reports are great, but all right, let's do this. So roughly 15 minutes on the clock. So I invite you to adopt a posture that helps you be both relaxed and alert. It's the basic meditative state. For me, when I sit, I like to think about sitting in a way that is upright and dignified. So strength coming up through the posture, but not straining or efforting if possible. You can sit cross-legged or on the floor or sit in a chair, equally valid. Laying down and standing up are also options. Each of us holds tension in the body in different places. You'll know better where that is than I will, but the key is when you notice the tension, often the noticing will help it to melt. So there's a softening perhaps around the noticing. So I'll check my forehead, my eyes, jaw, shoulders. And if the tension holds, it's our first opportunity to bring a no big deal attitude to our sit. We're just here, being a human being, all that. And then before we shift into exploring do nothing, I invite you to take maybe 3 or 4 conscious breaths in through the nose, if possible, and out through the nose. So here we lean on the wisdom of the 3 sages from the 5 boroughs, the Beastie Boys. So slow in through the nose allows us to breathe low into the lungs. So slow and low is our tempo. If you're congested and can't breathe through the nose, you can help to slow the breathing down, breathing through pursed lips, sometimes called straw breathing. And to begin, we in essence offer our attention an open or free range. We let whatever happens happen. Avoid trying to micromanage the attention. We're not actively monitoring, but if we happen to spontaneously notice that we're sort of guiding or narrowing or controlling our attention, we see if we can let that go. When you first begin with a technique like this, something that has a quality of choiceless awareness, it's likely to bring up questions of, am I doing it right? So if you're sitting here and listening, you are doing it right. And one final thing, and I'll let you expand and explore this. If you feel like you need a little more support, you're not ready to shift into do nothing, you can always use a home base to begin and let yourself settle in. So I'll let you explore further, do nothing. So a reminder that since we're allowing whatever happens to happen, so it's okay if the attention is drawn to sounds, the air blowing through a vent, or washing machine running, or any of those things. We're endeavoring to do something simple but difficult, adopting the posture and just being okay with not controlling what comes up. So explore a bit more. Good. So now we'll transition to the second half of our sit. We're focusing on the body, either emotional body sensations or physical body sensations. So if you're in a relaxed state, great. You notice that. Soak the attention into whatever quality you're finding, and then labeling that feel. And if you're feeling slightly agitated or anything in between that maybe comes up as a unsettling feeling in the stomach or pressure in the chest or hotness around the neck, and again, not ideal, but we treat it the same. We'll notice that, soak the attention in, and label it feel. As we settle into the rhythm of noticing, soaking the attention in, and optionally labeling, we may begin to notice restful qualities. If that's the case, then we notice that also. Soak the attention in and label it rest. And one last thing, we can create rest by sort of stretching up and settling back into the posture. As we do that, the stretching and flexing of the muscles and then release, there's often a restful sensation around that. So delve into feel rest. If you're having difficulty locating rest, one sort of sensory troubleshooting thing that I do is to check my posture. Sometimes I'm leaning forward, so eager to find that next restful sensation that I'm in a bad posture, or posture that's not going to help me be both relaxed and alert, clear. Or maybe I'm slouched to one side or leaning too far back. Not always the case, but a place to start. And if rest isn't available, again, an opportunity to bring that no big deal attitude. The body's here. Simply focus on the body. And if your eyes have been closed, I invite you to open them. Reconnect to your surroundings, if that's beneficial. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for making it to this spot to spend 20 plus minutes practicing. Thank you for those joining live, and equally thank you to those joining after. You are very welcome, Sarah and Jill, and thank you, Ralph, for joining today. Yeah, if you have any questions or comments or reports, I'm always game to hear that. Oh, you're very welcome, Ralph. Thank you. And then a nod to Jill's contribution. Jill, I think, had suggested the switch of do nothing. So do nothing at the front as a way to play around with. So I like these contrast sits as a way to experience kind of what ifs, like what would it be like if I did this or that. So always playing around with those sort of things. A common kind of old school Buddhism perspective that is similar to the contrast sit is to kind of do cross training, maybe is a analogy that works, which is that you begin with a practice that will help you generate, in UN terms, concentration power. And then that will usually, that period could be, I don't know, from a shorter sit, it could be 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And then, you can set up your app to have an interval bell, and then that bell would signify the end of your concentration practice, and then you would shift into another practice. So I also am somewhat offering this contrast sit as an idea that we can break up our practice in a way where we can cross-train. At the end of the day, from a skills-based perspective, you're always training concentration, clarity, and equanimity, the 3 skills. And then doing that with a no big deal attitude is the element that Jeff Warren talks about with bringing care to the practice. So the sort of deliberately bringing care in that as well. So yeah. And then tomorrow is Friday. I'm still offering up my alliteration of Friendliness Friday. So we'll do, for the beginning part, I mentioned the sort of old school Buddhist or traditional Vipassana, we'll do like an axis concentration in their lingo, but it's really just concentration power sort of practice. Loving kindness can be done in a way that it is such a practice. So also just a nod to when we do that on Fridays, when we do a loving kindness, that's another way to generate concentration with focusing on the phrases, or you can focus on the sensations in the body. So we can kind of tweak. That gives you a little bit of an idea of the tweaks that are available to you, the knobs and dials that are available in a technique. So, but yeah, so if you have any, I don't know if you have any themes for that. I probably will borrow a little bit. I don't know, maybe from Roshi Joan, since that was the 10% happier meditation today. So I very much resonate with that strong back, soft front sort of perspective. So yeah. Well, we're almost to the bottom of the hour. I'm going to go ahead and shift back into work. Today is a good day, so I am eager to kind of shift back and keep the momentum. Have a great Thursday. Yeah,